Welcome to AI Meets Marketing. Today we have Manu, who is a serial entrepreneur. He has founded multiple companies in tech sector. He has almost 15 years of experience in running different companies in different sectors. So Manu, welcome to AI Meets Marketing.
Thank you, Mohan.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting. Happy to be here.
So just tell us little bit about you, what you do, and what are you doing right now, which companies you are running.
So, Manmohan, as and like for my friends, I'm telling. So, I started a company called Software back in 2008 with my friends, and like we built it. So, we had a team of around 150 developers at one. And eventually, all of us started like getting bored of general like being in service sector, and we thought of like building product. So, right now, I am like working more towards product side. And there are two, three products that we are working on. So one is HRMS, another in say process automation, and then there is like one product which is related to fintech. There are two, three products which we are working.
Suppose every entrepreneur wants to like most because service is hard and service is, let's just say, less reliant and has a linear growth trajectory compared to products usually have exponential growth trajectory because you have been a product manager for a very long time. Like suppose I want to build any tech project, what should be the things which I should know so that I can keep an eye that my vendor is doing the right job? What should I see in my vendor before I hire them?
So the one of the most important thing is the vendor and their performance is secondary. First, you should have like very good understanding of the kind of product that you are trying to build, and also that of your customers. So if you have like very good understanding of your customers and product, then obviously you know what you want. After that, like there are few things which comes into picture, that how smart your vendor is in terms of building similar products in past. By similar, I don't necessarily mean like similar technology or similar domain, but at least like similar complexity, and probably like how smart they are in understanding your pain point and your customer's pain point. Then second thing we a person technology needs to have is like right approach towards and also vision towards the upcoming technology, how they are like developing, how where the spectrum is going in terms of technology. If you remember like 10 years back, nobody was talking about JavaScript, but now like almost every is built using that. So there are multiple frameworks, front end, back end frameworks like which are working on JavaScript. So which happened with time. So like the understanding of these things, like where tech stack is going. So that is also very important sometimes.
I think like there are two ways to go about it. Either I gain enough knowledge to decide which tech stack should be our application built in, or I let the vendor decide. Suppose, let's assume the most of the case is the second one. Most of the entrepreneurs, business owners, they do not understand. I see many people who are hell bent. Somebody has explained to them their website should be in .NET or something like that. But ideally, that is more expensive because you are using a paid platform. You are using, means there are other platforms where you can build faster websites which are not so expensive.
Basically, what I think you need to want to ask is what should be the approach. So my approach will be very simple. One is like our focus should be, if it is a niche and there are not many competing products, then go to market should be very fast. So that is one of the most important things. Second thing is, see, had I been in your place, necessarily gone for a tech product, because the thing is, as in your case, the strength is basically marketing, not necessarily tech.
I'm just talking about any entrepreneur.
So, see, typically, I think one should start where his or her strength lies. So, if they are, and in general, I think an entrepreneur should try to see what are the things that he understands very well. So, maybe like he is very good at maybe selling something, or like maybe manufacturing something, or procurement of something, or he might know about a business process where there is no good tool out there. So, basically, like first, he need to see what is the gap area where he can build something and add value to. Second, how big is actually that gap? Because sometimes you gap might appear to you because you are not aware about the solutions that exist. So you need to analyze like how many solutions are existing, and then you need to prepare like how big that market is. Are the clients willing to pay for that particular solutions? Good number of clients, and you can make a profitable business out of it. Then definitely why not? So then you can like go into that particular area.
Yeah, but what should be my approach to select the tech stack, and when I should try to decide on my own?
Ideally, like for that you need some good understanding of technology in general, I would. So otherwise like it is very difficult and you have to rely on onto the vendor only.
So basically, most of the times I am being relied on the vendor. So what could be like the methods? Because what happened that everybody claims that means what we have seen that they have built 20 websites like that, but we know that is usually not the case. How should I trust the? What should be the method to judge? What should be my let's say acid test to make sure that the vendor what the vendor is saying is right or wrong?
See, for that you need someone who has actually built some successful products. So if they have already built some successful products, then you know that they understand the things. If he is say someone like who is coming and who is actually trying to start, you can never be sure, because like he will obviously advocate whatever he knows.
Whatever they know the best, so they will try to push their technology because they
Obviously.
have limited knowledge. Suppose what else is required? So once, of course, the first thing is that I should decide who my audience is, which I think most of the entrepreneurs understand. And the second is what should be my next phase of product development, and then third thing will be how to hire the team. What should be the approach for hiring the team members for a startup in the beginning?
It depends on area to area, which area you are actually hiring. And the person should have very good expertise in that particular area. That is very important if you don't have. Second thing which I prefer is like how smart the person is, how quick learner he or she is. These are the two most important things. One, like how good exposure he has in that particular area, and then how smart is he or she.
So can means second part is definitely clear, but can you like just spend little bit time on the fact that you said there might be different approach for each job function. So what will be your typical approach for your HR team, for your tech team, for your marketing team, like what should or in sales team, like what should be the approach?
Let's talk about marketing team, which is definitely like one of the most key aspect of any. Let's talk about say house, which is one of the co-working place
Yeah,
that
one of
we
the
found.
startups you just started a few years back, right? Couple of years back.
Right. Basically, here approach for selecting any person in the marketing will be that what is his strategy, what are the components which are included in that particular strategy, and does he or she has an experience in that particular strategy. When I say all this, what I will explain you. So there are multiple channels which are out there, right? So there are say LinkedIn is one channel, then there is Insta, there is Google, Facebook. So there are many channels through which, or even like a email marketing. So there are multiple channels through which you can advertise this. But then not every channel gives you the same result based on the product. The result might very good on one channel and might not be equally good on another one. And then you might need different people to work on different channels, because but maybe you will be able to explain like even better. But what I have felt is like sometimes one channel is working better, then after that that channel gets saturated.
That will be approach to marketing, but what should be the approach to hiring the marketers? Building the
What
initial team. Yeah.
So building the initial team, the most important aspect is if you don't understand marketing, then you should hire someone who actually does.
Suppose if I ask you first 5 employees, as soon as my product is up and running, like which employees I should hire?
I am sure marketing is one of the most important things. Operations, maybe HR, because they will help you hire the right team if you don't have that much time. You need to have a very good HR who will eventually help you select the right people for that. So, which may vary on say company to company. Delivery obviously is very important. Delivery, operations, HR, tech. Almost all these aspects are very important in their own sense.
It almost comes out as if HR is probably your first hire.
Depends, like if at a bigger scale, yeah, definitely it is. So if you are so there are two type of companies or entrepreneurs which are out there. One like who have, so if you have like good enough budget, then I think yeah, you should hire the HR people first, because they will help you in hiring rest of the team, or like you can probably outsource that as well intelligently. But then after that, obviously, yeah, you need to. Second important thing is actually marketing if the product is ready, because then only you will be able to get some sales. Marketing sales, they become very important. After that, the customer service and customer experience is most important. And like in the meantime, obviously, like you will have to take care of multiple functions as an entrepreneur.
What I read somewhere, like initially we need journalists. So people who can do multiple things at a time, probably they should be your first hire. And then you can slightly build up upon that. Then you can hire specialists for each function.
Makes sense, but varies according to, I would say, business to business. Sometimes cannot be started without specialists. If someone is already starting, so as I told you, like there are two approaches. One, you have funds, one you don't have. So if you don't have any funds, then Obviously, like you need to be journalist and you need to hire journalists. Second is you do have some fund. Second thing is also what is important is actual business. So
Mhm.
suppose it
Mhm.
selling something on. So
Mhm.
then I really feel that marketing is should have a marketing professionals.
Okay.
Otherwise, you won't, there is very less chance of if you
Mhm.
are actually trying to say do an e-commerce and you don't understand how to sell. You can hire journalists that won't help
Right.
because you won't get any orders. So what will you do with the team? What order will they be able to fulfill? So my first thing is like you should have business. So
Mhm.
once you have business, then you can actually hire people who will be able to help in those areas because probably journalist thing you can also do doing some small procurements in initial stages as an entrepreneur people can do. But if they are not scaling, then it becomes a challenge.
If I'm trying to sell anything online, or if I'm planning to reach my customers through online mediums, which is almost 80% of businesses 2024, then I should hire a marketing specialist first, or at least a marketing consultant first.
Either you should have like that knowledge.
Or you can be a specialist in, but it should be a specialist knowledge. It cannot be a journalist knowledge. You should not be
You're right.
having some awareness of it. You should be an expert of it, or you should hire an expert. Even if as a consultant, that is also fine.
Right, very true. That is what I think. Because otherwise, you won't be able to generate business. Then, what is the advantage of? Let me explain you with the same thing with one more example.
Sure.
Suppose, like, we are talking about manufacturing, and suppose you, like, say, there is someone who manufactures leather belts, and they
Mhm.
can sell very or create very good leather belts.
Sure.
But if they are not able to sell it, then it doesn't make they won't be able to make a business out of it. So probably if they have good understanding of leather belts, what they can do is they can actually collaborate with the people who have those skills and who can create equally good belts, and they can give them more margin in initial days and then optimize on it later. But they need a brand strategy to stand out and establish or create a market for themselves.
You directly don't want to be a D2C brand. You can also B2B brand. You can collaborate with retail chains or wherever you can sell. But if you're planning to be a D2C brand, then you need to hire marketing first. If you're planning to be B2B, then you need to hire probably somebody in sales team first who understand that
Exactly.
industry really well. Means,
Exactly.
and ideally, if you are the one who can sell, who can lead the sales team in that industry, then usually the magic happens when it comes to the business.
Definitely. That will be a huge advantage. That will be huge.
And most probably, then you will probably like to hire your first couple of people from references. One of my friends used to say, like, HR is like the one of the most redundant departments in
Company.
corporates. I feel like too much of it is too much, and then none of it is also bad. There should be a balance. So, what should be the ratio of the HR team versus the company, the number of employees in the company?
That's a very good question, Manmohan. So see, initially when you have very small team, say probably 10, 20 people,
Mhm.
probably you can like so initial 10, 15 people, maybe you can hire yourself.
Mhm.
After as soon as you cross 10, you need to hire an HR because then you need to basically process salary and there are and like you need to expand your team.
The question here, if I have just 10 people, then why can't my accountant do the salary and administrative job, some of them?
Accountant is something like which you can easily outsource because I think like there is no direct impact in that sense. If you
Okay.
are running a good business and are outsourcing it and like must have some good insight about like how the business is doing, that is important. But other than that, it's a simple calculation. There is different type of complexity involved in it,
Mhm.
and there are multiple solutions out there who can also solve it for you. But for hiring, you need to give a lot of input to the person, and you only have limited time, so you cannot talk to like candidates. So you need to create a system wherein like you can judge who are the best 10 and how to talk to those 10 and finalize one.
So basically,
That's
HR as a function is more for saving the time for most valuable resources who are going to lead your teams.
exactly. And another thing is, see, end of the day, any company is built out of people. Most of the service company I'm talking about. So
Sure.
90% of the service companies are built from people who are there behind that company. Even in case of like, multiple products companies, so are built by the people who run them. Having the right team and right people is what makes the difference. So if you have sorted the HR, then you have sorted almost everything.
That's something big. So if you have sorted the HR, you have sorted the people's management. So whatever is outside of the work, you have sorted that.
See, work those people will do now. So there are two things.
So what
One,
should be the ratio of HR to the company? What should be the
I
healthy
don't
ratio?
think like you need a lot of people. It depends like how the culture is. If the culture of the company is good, then maybe say one HR should be enough for up to 50, two for say up to 100, maybe one per 50, something like that. That is a minimum. That is
When we are going through, and let's come back to the product development. So suppose I have some idea in my mind. I come to you that, okay, I want to develop this product and this is how you should do it. I understand my target audience, who they are, and I also understand my competitors, where they are drawing their business from. But how can I make sure that my product does well? What should be your, because you have not only run some companies, you have developed dozens of products in your career, right? So dozens of successful products. What should be the approach of the entrepreneur or the business owner when they start?
end of the day, product will eventually get developed. In at least in our case, I have seen is like most of the trends which I have seen is actually the client's approach in terms of how well he was able to understand the more often than not it happens like they think there is a good idea, there is a good scope and everything, and they spend a lot in like making the products, but end of the day, like when they actually launch, most of them fails, most of them, almost 90% of those of the products fails because they are so obsessed with their ideas that they are not able to see outside and they are not able to judge really how big the market is and are people actually going or willing to pay for that. So that is the biggest challenge which I have seen in my whole time. So people have a lot of belief. They think they will make something and it will go fly like this. But as soon as the product is ready, they start launching it. So there are two, three things where the things fail. One, they think it is ready now, it will work. Anything that never happens. For any company or any product, typically there is a building cycle of 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
In 3 to 6 months, that product get ready, but it just get ready for a sort of a alpha launch. So, which let me give you some examples of how the big companies do it. So,
Sure.
typically, what they do is they get a product, they use it internally
Okay.
for at least first 6 months. They try to understand what are the challenges, what are the shortcomings. Another 6 months they take in order to improve those challenges. Then they go to the clients. They see, they take their feedback. These 6 months also sometimes you go to the clients. What are the feedbacks which are coming out of the market? Often than not, you realize that there are few mistakes that you have made in terms of understanding the client's perspective or client's challenges. So then you work on those challenges. It's an ongoing cycle. Till your product is working, there is something which is going on and on. And you are improving the product every day. There is no final product. No, neither Google nor Facebook have been able to get the final product. It's just a like thing or which you are actually approaching for.
And if you probably stop the improvement, most probably sooner or later your product will also stop growing.
Exactly. Sometimes in between you have to pivot, you have to create something. If you can take example of like ERP companies. So they came up with general softwares initially. Now almost all of them are pivoting towards cloud because that is the need of market. And if they don't, they will try. Then there are new and new technologies which are also coming in between. So IoT came. So if you don't adjust yourself to those technologies, new things, you will become redundant. Thing is, we created a very, I would say, lean product. When I say lean, it meant over years I had heard, I had learned also, and every time I learned that you should create an MVP, minimum viable product, and then launch with. And that is exactly what we did. But it doesn't. A single theory doesn't work all the time. So sometimes you have to make exceptions. So what we felt is, and when we approached the market, so we felt, and when we approached like those big enterprises, so all of them had very complex shifting systems, and they wanted us to cover all of them. And also another thing is, our competitors had like some of our competitors had those features. So in order to basically compete with our competitors and to sell it to such big enterprises, so we had to give like them something very unique, which is something like which is not already there in the market.
Something more than the
Something
MVP.
exactly, or something more than our competitors. So then we had to change our approach, and instead of building everything or like giving all the modules, we decided that we will work on like modules one by one, and whichever module we'll make, we won't make an MVP. We will make a very exhaustive module. So now our module is actually one of the best in the industry, and just by, even if we don't, maybe it will be difficult for us to get all the clients, but this is one of the most important function of any organization, that they should have a very streamlined shifting system, or like attendance system, where they can note the overtime, different ways in which they calculate, like say comp off and late attendance. There are many things which comes into picture, and if you develop that deeply, that small module in itself become as big as the whole product.
Sure.
So now we changed the approach, and we thought, yeah, no, this earlier approach is not working properly. So we have very, I would say, in depth, create very exhaustive products. So now
Yes.
we changed approach. We created exhaustive modules, and I think that has given a lot of confidence to our clients as well as our internal team as well. So now when our sales team go to the client, they show the product. So almost whatever the use case, the
It comes back to
ah,
know your audience. So I feel like people
exactly,
drop, yeah,
and basically sort of jumping into the water
yeah.
till you are
And
on the surface. Like you can make many theories, you can think of
mm,
multiple things,
mm.
but once you enter water, then you know, like, yeah, what is working out and what's not.
And such real life examples are very important to give, because people, like, everybody says know your audience, but if you really, really go inside it, if you have really made something and then try to sell it, then only you know what the heck you are actually talking about. Just
Right,
repeating
very
us.
true, very true. And many of times,
When I
yeah, please.
started, when I learned digital marketing in 2011, 2012, there was a phrase called content is the king, you know. And
Right, right.
I did not understand its meaning at that point of time, and I even thought that people who are saying that, people who were even teaching that, they did not understand its meaning. Otherwise, they would not have been teaching in that manner, right? So, content, and I feel like even I have not inculcated that lesson fully in myself. So, even these simple jargons, these single lines, if you try to break them down and incorporate in real life, you find them very, very complicated and much more difficult to implement. Then it does not come naturally. There is a lot of process, brains, patience, and effort and money goes behind it, right?
Very true. And right sentence would be to easier said than done.
Easier said than done.
Everybody knows that the content is the king, but
Yeah.
then how to create the right content.
Let me tell you, like, it's not a huge difference between the reel that is reaching 1,000 people and that is reaching 10,000 people in terms of quality, or
Hmm.
something that's reaching 1 million is a totally different thing. But 1,000 and 10,000, not a huge difference. But it's just keeping little things in the mind: what time the reel should be posted, what audience I'm talking to, and what should be the tone of the messaging. All these little things can definitely increase your reach 8 to 10x easily. I remember I have read this book by Seth Godin, and he always gives an example. Suppose you are talking about a brand Nike, right? So as soon as you hear the name Nike, you know what kind of brand it is, right? Means even if there is a hotel by Nike, you can already imagine how the wall will look like, how the entrance will look like, how the logo should be placed. You already know. But do you really know if clothing and shoe brand comes out of Hyatt Hotel, how it will look like? The answer is no, right? Means, so brands like Apple and Nike, they do have a brand, but Hyatt Hotel and let's say all these hotel chains, they do not have a brand. Like, there is no particular USP, there is no particular service. What you do, you suppose you are going to Dubai in the next month, then you will try to find the nearest location, and there are like these three, four different hotels which are close to you, and you will find the cheapest one and you will stay there. It might be a local hotel, it might be, because there is nothing extra that they are offering in terms of luxury or comfort in that particular segment. So of course there might be different segments of the hotel, but in that four-star segment, it's almost like everything, every hotel is almost saturated with the kind of services they provide. So then there is no particular identity of the brand. So there is no brand identity, right? So you have to build your brand identity. If you want to create a group of followers, a group of people who really love and like your brand, then you have to have something unique about the brand, something that actually solves people's problem, and something unique that will give you the edge. Figure it out. There has to be a
Huh.
balance. So memes are okay. Go ahead, fill your whole profile with memes, but some sense try to connect it with brand identity. Like, if there is no
Exactly.
connection
Aesthetics
between
should be
these two,
same.
yeah. So I always say, like, what
Aesthetics and
value
everything
you
should
can
be same.
provide. So what value you can provide with the social media? So there are only two values you can provide. One is information and the other is entertainment. So either you have to provide information or entertainment. That really makes your post valuable. But again, you have to connect it with the brand identity. So once you learn how to connect your brand identity with the information, or so, for example, when we are talking today on Sunday, yesterday Trump was shot, and I see like just today, China has printed a million. Some company in China printed a million T-shirts having that very picture just today. So, if you can somehow associate a particular incident in the news with your brand, and you can make a theme out of it, people will follow you because you are making. Suppose you are into co-working space in a house, right? So like suppose you can somehow connect that even to the safety that you are providing to the house, you know rather than being unsafe. So people do kind of, because that's a thing that's in trend today. So whenever
Yeah,
something is
that's very
trending, you
smart.
can if you are getting, let's say, 100 views on an average on a post, if something is trending, you will get at least 400, 500. So you get that
Easy.
organic lift itself. So that's something
Right.
that you can keep in mind while doing all the
And like
social media.
with very less budget, you can actually get a lot return,
Lot
right?
more
So
eyeballs.
that's definitely a smart way to market yourself. In some sense, I feel that is very true. Second thing, like which I want to ask you, Mona, is like so there are many channels right now which
Mhm.
are into the picture, and what I have felt is, at least in our case, but in multiple cases, I have found like when we start something, so we get a lot good traction, but eventually it dies out on most of the channels, especially about Facebook and
Meta
Insta. What we
channels.
feel is like initially you get very good queries, but with the same budget, with the same ad, and like even if you make some good improvements and everything, the quality keeps on like getting down, which I think we discussed earlier as well. And you were saying
Sure.
because it's the same audience and it
Let's
become
discuss this.
redundant.
Yeah.
So whoever wanted to connect, they have already connected, and now it has become redundant. So what is your suggestion? Should people be doing on multi-channel? Should be taking all multi-channel approach, or is it only a valid about Meta? Or how to like, have constant sort of lead generation?
Yes.
How to solve this particular issue?
Yeah. So just like the basic principle of investment, don't put
Hmm.
all the eggs in one basket, right? So that is also basic principle in marketing. If you're dependent upon only one channel, it's a bit difficult. Now, what you can do, that you can make your strategy as per your preference. So, for an example, suppose for co-working spaces in Delhi, your Google CPC will be very high, 150, 200 rupees. So, what you
Right.
should do? So, maybe you cannot afford it because in Meta you are getting a lead in 150 rupees, right? And probably
Right.
in Google, even if your lead is of a good quality, your single cost of the lead will be around 2000, 2500 rupees. So the cost of the lead is less than, and even in Google, probably you are getting only 25%, 30% qualified lead. So in Meta, if you are getting even 10% of the qualified leads, eventually Meta becomes a better channel for you. Because if let's suppose your cost per lead in Meta is 200 rupees, so for a rate of even 10%, it will 2000 rupees per qualified lead. And even in Google, if your qualified lead cost is 25%, for a 2500 rupees CPL, your CPL, your cost of MQL will be around, marketing qualified lead will be around 10,000 rupees. So you cannot pay
Right.
5x, 10x more for every lead. So in those terms, yes, you are right. You can select a primary channel. Now, once you have selected a primary channel, don't let it go. Now, from other channels, you can use retargeting. So Google Display Network is very cheap. Is a typical out of, if you can see all the universe of the scalable ad networks, Google Display is the cheapest. You can get good CPM in 30, 40, 50 rupees, right? In Meta, you cannot get anything less than 100 if you want to get anything done.
So this Google Display Network that you can do with small number of say leads, and you can yourself also upload the emails for
No,
that.
so the challenge with the Google Display is that it does not bring high quality leads. Same issue. Actually, it's worse than Meta. And sometimes what happens, you
What
will
I'm
see.
asking is like say suppose I have the data of my target customer. I already have say suppose I already generated 100 leads through Meta.
Mhm.
So now, although like they inquired about me and everything, but the challenge which I feel is very true about any company is you get the right lead, you get the right person. So they are in touch with you, but then due to one reason or another, they don't actually move ahead and they delay it. Now you cannot like keep on calling them again and again because that makes them irritated.
Yeah. So this
So
is
I think
exactly
like
what I
there
was.
should be
Yeah.
some way you can reach them
Yeah.
without actually sort of being too pushy. What do you suggest about this?
Yeah, so this is what exactly I was going to tell. So you have to select your prospecting channel, you have to select your retargeting channel, right? So in this scenario, when you are seeing, suppose a 5x more cost of MQL on Google, but because the cost of per impression on the display is lot less, what you can do you can shift your retargeting budget or some of the retargeting budget on Google display. You can run it for 4,000, 5,000 rupees, a very small budget, $100 budget. And you can get a frequency of 10 to 12 of all the website visitors. So at least because you are almost sure that you are driving relevant users from Meta because you have targeted a small set of audience, probably 50,000, 60,000 users. Because if you, the approach is something like you create an audience from your LinkedIn and Google where user intent is very, very high, because on LinkedIn you can add very specific set of job roles, very specific set of job functions, and there it somehow automatically filters a particular income group. So you can target those people and then land on a particular landing page. Now you have to make sure that no other traffic is coming on this landing page. And then you can run a Google Ads campaign. In Google Ads campaign, you can use your exact match keywords and you can also use certain set of audiences, right?
Right, makes sense.
In Google also you can use certain set of audiences beyond just the keyword targeting and which improves your targeting a lot.
Wow, that sounds awesome. So basically, what you are saying is you can get collect right kind of audience who is in right now in requirement of your solution through LinkedIn and Google, and then you can approach them on a third platform using Google Pixel and Facebook Pixel. Right? I think that's what you are
Yes.
saying.
Okay, basically what you can do that use your tag manager to its full potential and you can install your tracking codes and you can save the all this first party data in your tags and then you can retarget these users because these are high intent high quality users.
That sounds really awesome. I didn't know about it, and I think it's amazing. I think this can work wonders for like a lot of companies. I think who are not
Can I
actually
share
already
my
using.
screen? I think screen sharing is disabled. So means because I wanted it to be a interactive section as well, others can learn.
I think you can share it now.
Yeah. So basically, let me show you something. If you
Yeah, it is. It
go
is.
in any search campaign, you will see
Mm-hmm.
this section: audience, keywords, content. Most of the people just target the keywords. They don't go in audience, and that's why their Google campaign don't work. Now, another problem is that if your audience size is very small, you like for example your campaign is very small, then it becomes very difficult for Google to learn and give you results. So it works well when you are spending good amount of money. But let me
But
give you
again, like sometimes if it is like about a particular location, don't you think this audience actually obviously like becomes low or like
yeah
small?
yeah. So for example, in this particular campaign, we are using different set of audiences, people who are interested in technology, hobbies, home and garden. This is while this is slightly broader, we get the idea and we are basically improving the learning of the Google algorithm. Now it will learn faster that because now it's capturing all that information. So it will come to know that which audience is performing well, where your conversion rates are high. Like for
So
example,
here I have a query here, Manmohan. Using this, can we also do very specified targeting for B2B clients as well in terms
yes,
of
I'm talking
suppose
about
like
B2B mainly when I'm talking
I
about
mean
LinkedIn.
both
Yeah.
to job roles and other things?
Yes, for technophiles, our conversion rate is 0.8%. But
Okay.
for home and garden is 2.78%. What I should do, that I should use a bid adjustment, that I should increase my bid here probably by 5%
Okay.
and decrease my bid for technophiles where my conversion rate is low by 5%. Initial start, you can put a bigger adjustments, but this is how I usually start. Now, if you go down, that's not all. You can target age, gender, and income. This is all available in Meta. This is all available in Google search. So you can make sure your search is running to a very particular set of audience. Not only that, you can also exclude certain type of audiences, certain type of content from your campaign. So let's suppose I want to exclude people.
Can you like let us try something? Can you add CHROs here?
Can I add what?
CHRO,
What is CHRO?
Chief Human Resource Officer.
Right. So we cannot add particular job role like you can do in LinkedIn, but
Hmm.
what we can do, something we can search for audiences who they are. So basically we can go into the employment and we can select the company size. So we can definitely target people who are most probably for you who are into this category. So because maybe we know people who have more than 10,000 employees, they have a very different set of process. Probably it will become difficult for them to target and they will have not many employees. So we will probably target them like large employers. And then I will go into the industry and I will target people working only into the certain industry. So maybe probably your human resource software working well financial industry and it's not working.
For us, like we are focusing on manufacturing. Let's
So you
let's
can target
let's do.
manufacturing from here, right? You can just select it from here and it
But
will
I
work.
just want to target people who are in like HR. So how can I do that?
So you can then create your custom intent audiences. That is another way to do it. So I think so you have to do your research. This is not so easy, but what
But
we
they are
can
actively searching for planning, so I can choose human resource here.
yeah, so let's see.
Maybe let's try to put human resource here.
So I don't think there will be an interest of human resource, but we have to
Hmm.
search. For example, sometimes in even in
Hmm.
affinity categories, you can find very small set of audience. For example, you are a suppose cycling company, you can target cycling enthusiasts very closely. It will work really well, but maybe it will not work so well for us. So what I will do, maybe I will go in different sets of audiences. So how they have means what I will do, I will create a new segment, new custom segment, and then I will try to target them by that. So there might be a number of ways, means I cannot tell you all the tricks of the trade in one call, but let me tell you that it's just so many things you can do even in your search campaigns, which usually people don't.
Whatever like insight you gave, that is awesome, Manmohan. I think there are very few marketers right now in the market in the industry who are actually using these. So good to know you are already using these all these things, and highly impressive.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So basically, so and
Is a very new aspect like which has come to my mind just through our discussion so far. One of the most important aspect is how to use multi-channels, right?
right,
And how to rightly use the data. So these are
right,
the two most important aspects along with that content thing which we discussed in the start. So one is how good is your maybe content or like say idea. Second thing is how you use data. Third thing is how you use multi-channel approach. That is something which can be a changer in this whole.
the basic summary is don't be dependent upon just one channel and don't like with a if you feel like a 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 budget will make a dent. No, it won't. So you have to make sure that you are covering at least a minimum, you are reaching at least 40-50% of your target audience. You can make your audience smaller. So this is where you can be more precise. But don't make your budget so small that means rather than doing that, save your budgets and use it when your season comes. So there are many seasonal businesses. If you understand your business well, you know in which season you are going to get most of the customers. Feel free to increase your budgets for that particular time, and in the off time, be dependent only on the your email list, your retargeting, and your very small sets of precise set of
Yeah, so
audience.
there are two things like which were coming to my mind, and I so one thing is like say suppose you have a good audience and you don't want to be too intrusive, but at the same time they are the right customer, but they are not ready to buy it at that particular point of time.
Mhm.
So what do you think is the right approach to get them converted at a later stage, or like be in touch without being appearing too desperate?
So if you already have an email list, you can drop an email. Don't be dependent upon just one channel, but start with one or two emails in a month.
The eligible audience size itself is some in particular geography. Let's take example of house. Here, like we can only sell to the people who are interested in Gurgaon or like residing in Delhi NCR region.
Yes, one set of
The audience size itself is around like say 6,000.
when your audience size is so small, most probably you have figured out your core audience. Then your awareness phase could be smaller. But let me tell you, your cost per lead will shoot up because your CPM will be very high. Because I think the biggest challenge they face that they like to hire somebody in house. They don't want to give their data, and I totally understand and respect that. So they cannot hire an agency. So the person they are hiring, they are most probably hiring a resource. They cannot pay 25, 30 lakhs in a year because they have very limited work. So what they should do in that case, make sure the experience of running email campaigns. So as I said, two emails in a month and then run your video ads. And whoever is interacting with your video, you can retarget them for the lead form campaigns. So this might be the right approach.
Makes sense. So just to understand it, you said show them the video ad and like they're seeing the video, then retarget with lead. That's what you're saying, right?
And also if you are really sure about audience, then I don't think high CPM on Meta you have to be very much worried about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I
So
exactly. So suppose you are targeting them, but you don't know what is the right time to target. And sometimes targeting them again and again and again, like, it becomes boring for them as well. And if
no. So
at the same time you want to be there when they are in need.
So frequency is the key. Similarly, like your frequency, just like the email frequency is two in a month, it should not exceed two in a week. Your Meta and LinkedIn ads should not exceed two in a week. Like there should be.
But I want it to be constant flow. So can I actually manage that one person will do? Can we manage frequency on Meta?
Yes, you can manage frequency. You can manage frequency. You can manage
So we
frequency.
can like just show this ad twice to that particular user.
Yeah. So twice in a week is more than sufficient.
What I feel is also important, Manmohan, is can suggest me that you can actually stop your ad. Like you can run it for 10 days and then maybe stop it for another 20 days, then run for 10 days for another month, something like that. What do you think about this?
Yes.
Especially when you know like your customer.
Yes. So I don't mostly suggest that because our platforms or ad engines are designed in a way that they punish you if you stop running your ads for some time. So your cost per conversion might go up, your cost per lead might go up if you do.
Subscribe to AME's Marketing and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.